Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of iRacing NASCAR AI career mode here on the channel. We are continuing our career mode here today from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Excited to hopefully shake some bad luck, and after making some enemies here in the last episode in Phoenix, we look to turn things around here in Atlanta there. Getting one last look here at the overall before we get a bit of a change up here. Every 5 or so races, we're going to see some minor changes here with the R&D, not only for Wood Brothers, but for every team as well. So there's the final look at the current R&D chart, and it should be updated going into the next episode, so stay tuned on that here. Now, as like I said, we made nothing but enemies in the last episode in Phoenix, and we were actually on a talk show earlier in the week for NASCAR, and I said, actually, quote, I made too many mistakes in Phoenix, simply need to clean it up, and I will. I'm here to earn respect as a rookie, and so far I haven't done that. Kyle Busch actually chimed in. He was asked about my antics, and he said, that's the way these kids race nowadays. They'll learn when it matters the most. So, bit of an intimidating quote there. And then as well, midweek, we have an announcement from Stewart-Haas Racing.
If you're just joining us, the big story is that Stewart-Haas Racing dropping a bombshell, announcing that Cole Custer is out of the 41 Ford effective immediately due to his suspension at Daytona. Riley Herbst in the car for Atlanta this weekend, but it looks like Pierce is going to be taking over the number 41 Ford for the remainder of the season as they attempt to race for a championship, starting at Circuit of the Americas in 2 weeks.
There you hear the news. So starting in 2 weeks, the Circuit of the Americas, a week after this one, it is going to be Ryan Preece full-time in that 41 machine, as Cole Custer is ineligible to make it into the playoffs. So Stewart-Haas is currently looking at ways to keep him in the Cup Series, so stay tuned on that. He might be running some races in a 5th car for Stewart-Haas potentially. We'll have to wait and see what's going on there, but Ryan Preece is going to try and put that 41 into the playoffs. However, he's starting 6 races late, so that's a lot of points to make up, and Ryan Preece and that 41 team, they might have to look at winning a race here as we arrive in Atlanta. Preece not in the 41 today. It's Ryan Preece and his Riley Herbst, in his second and final start in this 41 car before being just normal full-time again in the Xfinity Series. So a lot of stuff going on at the beginning of this episode, but now we focus our efforts to myself and this 21 team at a brand new paint scheme again on the car. Look at that NZXT machine. Isn't that beautiful? Love that purple, white, and black combo there made by Aiden, and it just looks so good. And I can put the trading paints link down in the description if you would like to race this at some point on iRacing, as it is available for download to anybody. So we were getting onto the track here. This is not the new Atlanta, so this is old Atlanta. It's got the normal banking, it's got the normal layout that we are all used to from before 2022, so we're gonna have some off-throttle time. It's not necessarily gonna be a full-blown pack race. Now with iRacing AI, mile and a half, there can certainly be some levels of plate style pack racing, so stay tuned on that, especially on the restarts. That's where we're really going to have to pay attention to. Overall, it's been a bit of a rough stretch here since Daytona, and we're looking to turn our luck around today here. Now, by the way, points update, people asking for that. It's going to be coming at the very end of this episode, so you will see what the points look like at the conclusion of this Atlanta Motor Speedway, as we will have finally now episodely updates on that point standings like we should here. But practice overall in this, NZXT, Ford, Wood Brothers Racing, Mustang went pretty good. It was not too bad, not great at the same time. There was certainly some speed that we were lacking, but at the end of the day, if we put it in NASCAR Heat 5 terms, we are in a 4-star car. We're not out here, like I said so many times this season, we're not looking to win races and consistently battle in the top 10. We're looking to make a name for ourselves and prove that we belong in one of those top 10 cars and race winning cars next season, and prove to Penske Racing that we are worth making the jump up to potentially a 4th expansion car for Penske Racing next season. So in Phoenix, we obviously did exactly the opposite, proving that we shouldn't even be in the Cup Series to begin with. So as a rookie, it's been a bit of a learning curve with this next gen car. Now we focus our attention to qualifying here from Atlanta now for this 2-lap sprint, and I struggle to find confidence and comfortability in this car in the qualifying effort here. Now running the middle lane, this is where I noticed the AI running a lot in practice was right in the middle in 1 and 2, so I decided to put myself there as well. But you can see right here to turn to a big mistake, so right lap 1 off already. We come through 3 and 4 on lap 2, and it still wasn't that great. So a bit of a rough qualifying effort. We would come through to cross the line there, and it was looking like it was going to be like a top 30 if we were lucky here. Chase Elliott is on pole, and there we are, actually exactly P30. So a rough qualifying effort here coming into this Atlanta Motor Speedway. 85 laps, by the way, so it is going to be a pretty lengthy race here now with stages and whatnot. We'll of course update those stages when we get into race day. And speaking of race day, let's get ready for Sunday and send it over to Alan Bailey here for the Atlanta Motor Speedway pre-race.
We're at the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the 5th race of the season in Georgia. I'm Alan Bailey with coverage on ARN. Drivers love this mile and a half. With drivers flat out around most of the speedway, NASCAR has plans to repave the speedway next season, adding banking, turning it into a super speedway. But for now, drivers will have to brave the high banks of Atlanta, beat the heat, and keep it off the wall. Chase Elliott is looking for his first win at his hometown track, and after his win in Phoenix last week, engine number 9 looks to make it 3 wins in 5 races. Can Elliott win at his home track? Let's drop the green and find out.
Ready to go green. There you heard Alan Bailey in the pre-race now as Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, your front row. Kyle Busch has had some ups and downs here lately in this early part of the season, and unfortunately for him, one of those downs has been from me putting him in the wall at Phoenix Raceway. So not trying to do that here today as we're ready to go green from Atlanta for 85 laps now as Chase Elliott will lead the field to the green in stage 1. And these stages are as goes. Stage 1 comes to a conclusion at the end of lap 20. Stage 2 comes to a conclusion at the end of lap 45, and then we go from 45 to 85 for that third and final stage. And immediately there you see William Byron, Auto Club winner up the inside, bringing his Hendrick teammate of Kyle Larson with them. We have seen the trend early on in this season. Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing. Those two teams have been the absolute pinnacle of the sport so far in the first few races. But like we said, we've only done 4 races, and we might talk about Hendrick Motorsports, we might talk about Joe Gibbs Racing, but don't forget Joey Logano of Penske Racing. He's already won a race as well recently. So it never counted out a Penske driver either at this point now, as I myself here had a subpar start. We had only gained 1 position in this opening lap here and still feeling out where to run. But look at this, everybody right here clumped together. Like we said, these mile and a halves, you know, this is the old Atlanta now. However, there is still going to be some form of pack racing right off of this original start, the restarts as well when everybody's got fresh tires here. So I was, like I said, trying to feel out the track. Where do I want to run? Where's the fastest? I myself, as usual, most comfortable around the outside, running by that wall as close as I can here. But you can see now up front, Kyle Busch actually making a move potentially here on Chase Elliott to the inside. Yes, it is side by side, nearly some contact there between the 2019 champion and the 2020 champion there. 3 championships between those 2 drivers now, but Kyle Busch takes the lead of Atlanta and says, see you later, hometown favorite of Chase Elliott now is William Byron, Truex, Bell all the way up here in the top 5. Kurt Busch running superb as well. It's been a rough start to the season for Kurt Busch as well. There you see Riley Herbst his final start in the 41. 3 wide in the background there with Logano, Chastain as Bubba Wallace, and this is where everything's kind of a mess here now as you see me fighting up the inside now, a fellow rookie of Jay Cook for Colleague Racing now as he's been having a subpar season. He's kept the car in one piece, but he really hasn't been up in the mix for top 10s or anything. He's just been kind of bringing the car home, and that's really been the story of Colleague Racing so far this season, not only for Cook but for Justin Haley as well. They both just really been bringing the car home but not really doing anything spectacular. And you can see right here 3 wide in the middle between Cook and Ryan Blaney, who's been going backwards since the start of this race now, already past halfway in this first and opening stage. And you can see now just continuing to use that outside here on the exit of turn 2. That would allow me to have enough momentum to clear that number 12 of Ryan Blaney. We continue to scrap it out with some of these drivers around us. 3 wide with Ty Dillon and Buescher briefly there as Buescher was up my inside, and we continue to find ourselves in these scraps, but I would kind of get away from these guys until this right here out of turn 2, lap 69, slipping and sliding away, save it, nearly have contact with Ryan Blaney. Just that unpredictability of this next gen car. It'll just really quickly out of nowhere slip out from under you, and it's so hard to really kind of feel it coming in this next gen car compared to other cars that I've driven in iRacing. So it's been a learning curve here against these AI now, as I have to push a little bit harder usually compared to the actual fixed racing against real people. But Kyle Busch would come through at the end of lap 20. He would win stage 1 over Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, William Byron. You see the rest of the top 10 coming through good across the line. Stage points as well for Suarez, Cindric, and Ross Chastain. Trackhouse looking pretty strong early on in this season, kind of like they are in real life as well here. There you see Riley Herbst with a pretty respectable finish as well in this first and opening stage. But everybody, finally, everybody comes into the pit lane together instead of some drivers doing some silly strategy that would never make sense. So everybody is into the pit lane, led by Kyle Busch, who's looking very, very strong here in Atlanta. And I think the only way you're going to take down Kyle Busch is if he does some silly strategy, and we'll see if that actually happens right now and later in this race. But a solid pit stop for us here. Stage 1 overall went pretty well up there in the top 25, but still looking for more going into stage 2. Kyle Busch, your stage 1 winner. Ready to go green for stage 2 here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. An interesting stage 1. We gained quite a bit of track position in the pit lane, so we are in a pretty solid spot here up in the top 20 for the restart as we are once again back underway from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch out in front, a little bit of cloud cover over the circuit. Look at the launch there from the M&M's Toyota Camry there over his teammates of Denny Hamlin as well as Christopher Bell. Austin Cindric, another rookie up here in the mix, and we got, you know, rookies, the Rookie of the Year battle happening with Austin Cindric, myself, Todd Gilliland, Jay Cook as well. 4 drivers, all 3 of us are in about those 4-star cars in the Heat 5 standards, and then you got Austin Cindric, who's in the 5-star car there for Penske Racing, and we could very well be a true teammate to Austin Cindric next season at Penske Racing. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, we are an affiliate teammate or an alliance teammate with them already. As you can see, Christopher Bell now at the inside of Denny Hamlin. Christopher Bell been very, very strong early on in this season. I think Christopher and Kyle Larson have been the 2 strongest drivers so far that have not been able to find victory lane, but we've only done 4 races. This is race number 5, still early in the season. No need to even get involved in talking about when are these guys going to win, because we've only done a few races here. Now, as you can see myself running this middle lane behind Chase Briscoe in that number 14, his 2nd season of his Cup Series career, looking to make the playoffs this season. Now, as you can see myself up the inside of Tyler Reddick, making moves there as we head down this back straightaway. Suarez, he was now falling towards the bottom part of the top 10, because I had worked myself into the top 10 now with the way the pit stop had worked out at the end of stage 1. A lot of fortunate things happened there in that pit lane that allowed me to gain that spot that I needed. So you can see us actually briefly touch the outside wall there on the exit of turn 4, still side by side with that Tootsie's number 99 Chevrolet Trackhouse Camaro down into turn 1. We continue to glide up the circuit here up towards that wall on that top groove, and that's going to allow me to build up a bunch of momentum here on the exit of turn 2, just like that right there. We would then settle out in P8 behind this whole single file train of cars with Briscoe in front of us. Kyle was leading the whole thing, and look at this. Everybody was running the exact same lane, basically. A couple cars would start to get side by side here, but we were only about 10 laps to go at this point here in stage 2. Now to 5 laps to go in stage 2, and finally some drivers getting the elbows out. Truex now at the inside of the 14 of Chase Briscoe here. I'm trying to close in, maybe get another spot or 2. We haven't gotten stage points yet this season. Keep in mind now, as we exit turn 2, we're sideways, and we save it. This is the 2nd time we've lost the rear end on the exit of a corner, and now I talk about stage points potentially for the first time this season. Completely wipe that off the table because there we go, we lose a chunk of positions and fall out of stage 1. So you can see me really struggling now late in this stage as my tires had fallen off. Actually, I believe we did have stage points in Daytona if I'm not mistaken, but an absolutely abysmal end to stage 2 as Kyle Busch would go back to back in the stages with Hamlin and Bell in the top 5. Briscoe got a top 5. As you see, the rest of the top 10 cross the line there, but for myself, it went from looking at stage points to I'm slipping and sliding at this point through the tri-oval. That was how much this car had changed. It was like a flip of a switch, so it was pretty embarrassing here. But then, speaking of embarrassing, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, and Chase Elliott would remain on the racetrack, and that is basically asking for a disaster, and everybody else behind them would come into the pit lane, including myself. So it's looking like Kyle Busch through Chase Elliott, they are absolutely doomed for stage 3, and we could be at risk of getting involved in a major accident if we're not careful, as Kyle Busch wins stage 2. How does Kyle Busch have another bad week, you wonder? Well, it's not going to take me running into the back of him here today. It looks like it's going to take his own terrible strategy here. I had to drop to the end of the pack at the end of the pit cycle under yellow because I actually got a speeding penalty. So, unfortunately, my first speeding penalty of the season results me in starting at the very back of the inside line here as we are underway down into turn 1. Look at the disaster already. Chase Elliott's already dropping like a rock. He's fallen down well outside of the top 15-20 within just a matter of seconds of the restart. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, they're all struggling, but they're all right in front of the main pack here, so this is becoming a potential chaotic moment. Look at how just clumped up everybody is right here through 3 and out of turn 4, 4 wide. In the background, Bubba Wallace into the wall hard. Austin Dillon collected as well. The caution's gonna fly immediately here in Atlanta, and I actually got into the back of the number 3 of Austin Dillon, but no damage to the front end of my car. And look what happened here, 4 wide. Bubba Wallace slams at the outside wall after contact with David Reagan here in his home race in Atlanta. This was on board with myself, and look at that. I plowed into the back of the 3, and somehow I did not get a single bit of damage on the car. However, I did pit because I was pretty confident I damaged the car because that was a heck of a hit. You cannot get out of the car and look at the damage on your car, so I thought I had damage, so that's why I made that precautionary pit stop. Tyler Reddick as well, during the pits cycle, he comes in, and biggest surprise of all is after all of this happens, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Bell, Elliott, Briscoe, none of them pitted. They all stayed on the track again. I don't know why. They can make it to the end of the race, but they're going to be so slow with the tires, so we might even be in store for more chaos. But after all that happened, this is how it cycled out. Joey Logano would take the lead of this race over Brad Keselowski, Ross Chastain. There you see Kyle Busch, and look at Suarez slicing through 3 wide in the middle. McDowell, Harvick as well there in the mix here now, but Daniel Suarez putting up one heck of a performance here today from Atlanta Motor Speedway, but now he's stuck behind that 18, opening the door for Justin Haley to go around the outside. Harvick as well trying to move his way forward now, nearly some contact. Oh, we did have contact with the 31 of Haley right there. Harvick into the outside wall, some right side damage on that Busch Light number 4 machine. So Harvick there, we're gonna have to wait and see for how long he can suffer through that damage if it can make it to the end of the race here in Atlanta. Now as things are kicking off as the laps go on, typical iRacing AI fashion, things just kick off as the race goes on. You can see, look at this on the outside, Chase Elliott dropping like a rock, and the 78 actually really struggling as well, and I'm on the inside realizing now with some of these slower cars in front, it's a big opportunity for me to gain a bunch of positions and maybe go for a top 10 once again here. So I'm just kind of maintaining, running this inside line and just finding everything that I possibly can here, passing Austin Dillon behind Todd Gilliland. I'm going to get a little bit aggressive here, go 3 wide in the middle. There you see both Bell and Briscoe fading down the order. I thought about trying to go 4 wide for a second, thought better of it. Nearly contact between the 14 and the 15 right there. David Reagan in one of his few starts here, having a great run today. There you see Jay Cook as well on the inside, following Denny Hamlin, who's once again another driver on those slow tires, those old worn out tires, so I was able to pass Cook and Hamlin, and we were up to the top 20, now to the outside of that 15, side drafting and pulling back that number 15 to David Reagan. There's another position. Now I didn't get quite as far as I was hoping I would. We were in the top 20, but that was it. We weren't even in the top 15, so it wasn't as good as I was hoping. But here you see late in this race, Joey Logano looking for win number 2 of the season already to tie Chase Elliott, Chastain, Keselowski, Alex Bowman, all chasing him down. There you see the 34 as well of Michael McDowell, Cindric Harvick with that right side damage. You have to wonder what's going to happen there with that number 4 of Kevin Harvick. Now Suarez, the 31 of Haley as well, side by side here. These are all battles up inside towards this top 10 as well. Corey LaJoie having a fantastic day. Kyle Larson a little bit uncharacteristic for that number 5 outside of the top 10 currently. There you see myself continuing to try and run down these drivers up ahead now as we come towards these final 20 or so laps, and laps were running out quick, and I was kind of on an island of my own right here, and I was slowly reeling in Corey LaJoie, who was starting to fall off, but unfortunately cars behind me were reeling me in, so I was not taking care of my tires as good as some of these cars behind us, and that was showing itself because here 16 laps to go. Here goes Tyler Reddick now up my inside as we come through 1 and 2, and I'm trying to hold him up, but I just could not get to the throttle as quick as I'd like to be able to, and that number 8 car going to move past, and we would just continue to struggle here. Kevin Harvick, though, a few moments later, he's going to come into the pit lane, so he can no longer deal with that damage apparently, so he's going to come in to get some repairs, and his rough start to the season is going to continue as well. Harvick, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, I'd say myself, all have had pretty rough starts to this season here. Now as you see Ryan Blaney trying to get to my outside, he's trying to recover from what's been a rough day for Ryan Blaney. He just hasn't had the speed in that Menards number 12 here today, and he would pass me on the exit of turn 2. I was slipping and sliding again. That was a bit of a warning sign right there of what could be on the way with 11 laps to go in this race. Logano continues to hold off Chastain. Austin Dillon out my inside. We had run down LaJoie, but you could just see how much I'm struggling at this point. A little bit sideways there on the exit of turn 2. Side by side with that number 3. Austin Dillon briefly does get clear out of turn 4, but I wasn't quite done battling yet. I was in an Austin and Ty Dillon sandwich here. The Dillons all around me, but you can see I'm actually able to get back alongside Austin here into turn 3 here, trying to pull him back. Do what I did earlier to make a pass on David Reagan, pull them back, but I didn't quite have it there. But on the exit of the corner, bit of a wiggle there from the 3 allows me to get alongside the number 3 as we lose it through the tri-oval contact with the 3 of Austin Dillon sliding through the grass. A huge save to begin with, but the track position is a major loss right there. No caution from NASCAR, which was a surprise, but look at this. It just simply got away from me in the tri-oval. I mean, I knew we were losing grip. I knew the tires were wearing, but we lost it on a slight left-hander. I don't know. I've never had that happen in this next-gen car before in that manner, I guess you could call it there, as I simply just completely lost it in the tri-oval. And once again, a rough rookie season so far continues with this Wood Brothers Racing team, because now we were down to P26 and just hanging on to the end of this race. But look at this, I was struggling so hard at this point, just holding on to the best of my abilities. But it was Joey Logano, it was Ross Chastain battling for the win of this race, and it was the final lap underway here from Atlanta. A lap car in the way, actually, of BJ McLeod. Is that going to give Chastain the opportunity he needs? No, it's not. It's going to be exactly what he doesn't need. It's going to allow Logano to pull up a couple more car lengths in his favor. Chastain gets stuck on battling BJ McLeod. Surprised Chastain just didn't bulldoze through him right there. But through 3 and 4 for the second time this season, just like Chase Elliott did last week.
Chastain sending it one last time, but it's not enough. Joey Logano holds on for an Atlanta win. Second win of the season for Team Penske and Logano.
Eric Almirola with the top 5 finish. A great result for him as everybody else coming through to cross the line here now as we are hanging on. We were able to beat all the cars that were on the older tires, like Christopher Bell, Elliott, Kyle Busch. We get the wall on the exit of turn 4. Bell tries to give us a run for our money to the line, but we hold him off after once again what was looking to be a promising day like Phoenix goes wrong, and we end up outside of the top 25 in an embarrassing result here in Atlanta Motor Speedway. Here's the points update before we end this episode, and points are not looking good for myself, but Christopher Bell actually leads the points by 3 points over Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott down there in 4th in the top 5, but you can see that's the top 16. Kyle Busch currently with his rough luck, he's had 3 stage wins, but he's actually the last driver in over Daniel Suarez. Kozlowski as well. You see myself way down the order as well. We got some work to do, but fortunately it's early in the season, we got time. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, you know what to do. In the next one, we go road course racing at Circuit of the Americas. I think we have a lot of potential to turn things around. You guys remember from the prologue, we got a lot of road racing experience a few seasons ago before we jumped into the truck series full time in karting, as well as GT cars. So that could be a huge opportunity. We could become a road course ringer. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, everybody.